exactly. And even if it gets you past that 15 minutes of fame, you can never take back the fact that that's how you made it happen. Like,
Yeah.
the people who stick with you for the first little bit aren't going to care about what your authentic whatever is. They just are going to want what made you famous. So if what made you famous was looking a certain way, you're going to have to look that certain way to keep things going. Like, you can't just turn it off and be like, haha, I was joking. Like, I just use this as a tactic and now I'm actually showing you my true self. Like, no one's going to hold on to that. So you're stuck in it. You're
Yeah.
stuck.
You cut years later, you're just crying in the mirror. Like, who am I?
Literally, I don't know who I am anymore.
Today on the show, we are joined with singer-songwriter Delyn Grey. Delyn has released a new single titled Head to the Sky that you can now listen to on all streaming platforms. Totally recommend it. It fucking rocks. And to let you guys know, I was first introduced to Delyn by seeing her live. She was hand-chosen by fellow friend of the show, the legend Bif Naked, to open for her right after the pandemic in the Bif Naked Invitational, and it was a night of amazing acts, and Delyn just blew me the fuck away. Beyond having an absolute captivating stage presence, what's really cool about her and her music is that it feels like it's in the spirit of the rock music we would hear from legends of the past, from a Pat Benatar to a Alana Miles, but it's coming out of this young girl in a very authentic way. And in this conversation today, you'll learn how that all came to be, her influences, her drive in the music industry, and just a lot of topics about passion, hard work, and being true to yourself. I recommend you share this episode with anybody who's just going for it, going for their dreams, even beyond music. I got a bunch of motivation from being in this conversation, and I hope you get just as much listening to it as well.
Hey there!
Hey!
The internet's working again.
Yes!
Fingers crossed. I've been having like lots of like weird timing with things too, just like little scares, and like things end up working out, but like it's just crazy. Like I literally clicked the button to open the window and just everything crashed. I'm like, what's going on? I look over at the modem and it's just like, oh, it's not working. So
Perfect. Thanks for that. That's
yeah.
awesome. Do you mean like that computer?
Yeah, I know, eh?
Gosh. Well, I'm glad it's all good.
Yeah, me too. Me too. Excited to talk to you today. I'm sorry, I'm
Likewise.
just scrambling, getting my shit together.
No,
But
don't worry. Can you hear me okay? Is the level and everything
yeah, you sound
okay?
great actually.
Okay, okay, cool.
That's the
Hey,
best about having musicians on. They always got like the right mic setup and everything.
any opportunity to use it, you know?
Yeah, it's so cool. And even I think one reason why I asked you to come on today to I hear from like a lot of people who listen to kind of like rock from 20 years ago, 30 years ago, 40 years ago, and they're
Mhm.
always like, "Hey, they don't make music like this anymore."
Yeah.
Well, I'm here to say yes, they fucking do. And Delyn Grey is here with us today. And yeah, I just kind of
Thanks.
want to hear like about a bit of your evolution as an artist, and even like where that style comes from and why it comes out of you.
Yeah, well, I'll start with the fact that my father's a musician. So I grew up in a really musical household. I picked up the guitar around uh 12 or 13 years old. I still play the same way I did when I first started. So
Sick.
that's not a flex. But yeah, got into piano around 5 years old. I was a choir girl for like 7 years until I was 14. And I started off writing my own music around 11 years old, and it was all like, I want to be Miley Cyrus, the Hannah Montana Miley Cyrus, you know, because
All
she's been
right.
15 different people. But yeah, I just really wanted to be like the Disney pop kid. And so that was definitely reflected in the early music that I was writing until around 16 years old. I was just I was just not satisfied with the stuff that was coming out. And I was like, I just feel like there's something that's missing. I love this music that I used to listen to that, my dad got me on, Led Zeppelin, U2, the Rolling Stones, like these really cool dude rock bands. And I just felt like I wanted to be in that same kind of gritty, energetic, like just this crazy vein of music that I hadn't tapped into. So I started exploring that when I was like 16, 17, and now we're here at 23 still doing the thing.
Yeah, that's badass. It's always cool to hear how people kind of, I guess, find their sound and everything. And
Totally.
you always like, it doesn't matter. Like every time I talk to people on the show, like even beyond music, from comedians to filmmakers, it seems like they always start out like trying to emulate something they're a fan of.
Mhm.
And often it doesn't like translate right, and they don't know what they're doing
Totally.
wrong. And then all of a sudden, like it's almost something you can't teach, but like after time of just doing your craft, you can tap into your true self. And it's
Yeah.
cool that you found like this gritty, bluesy type of rock too,
Thanks.
because yeah, like you're good at it and everything, obviously.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Well, I hope so.
Yeah, I guess my first experience of seeing you play live was at that Bif Naked showcase too. She's been
Yes.
on the show a handful of times too, and this was
Awesome.
like post-pandemic and maybe like one of the first shows I've actually seen back. Like
No way. Yes.
was that your first time playing back after a long hiatus, or?
It was actually my second time. I had
Mhm.
played a show like up the street from me at that 3030 here in Toronto, in October of 2021, I want to say.
Yeah.
And then I was supposed to be playing a show at the Horseshoe in January 2022, and it got postponed because we went back into lockdown, I think. Yeah. Honestly, time, I don't have any grasp on it anymore. I've
Yeah,
given up.
same. It's a mess.
But yes, to answer your question, it was actually the first of 2022, that CMW gig. It was great.
Yeah, I thought what was really cool about that night too, because it seemed like I think I remember her saying that she kind of handpicked all you different ladies to like showcase before her. And you guys were from like all over the place, and it was like all sorts of different styles, but also made sense. And it was just a cool discovery night for me to see a bunch of new artists and everything.
Well, that's awesome to hear. Yeah, it was a really cool build to be a part of. I mean, yeah, like you said, being handpicked by Bif Naked, that's pretty freaking awesome.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah, no, it's
Legend.
insane. She's so cool. I love her. And yeah, I guess like yeah, it was just so cool. Sorry, I'm thinking about it. I'm getting lost in it because it was just an awesome experience being able to perform for the first time in 2022 to a bunch of people that didn't know me.
Mhm.
Was just like super nerve-wracking. It's like my parents and my boyfriend in the back. And that was it. So having to kind of rip the band-aid off was really cool.
Yeah, and you knocked it out of the park. And what I love
Thanks.
too about your performance too is just your stage energy too, beyond the
Thank
tunes too.
you.
You got like such like a presence of almost like what we were talking about, like the rock star of the past, even though like you're in your
Thank
20s
you.
too. It's like kind of like I felt like when you started playing, it felt like you were like tapping into like an older soul in a way. I don't know. It's like just like an energy
Thanks.
in the air that's pretty awesome. And yeah, I just kind of want to like get into like just your stage presence and performing and stuff. Like how do you feel when you're up there? Do you get like a stage high? Do you black out? Like how, because you
Oh
get
my
right into it.
God.
It's awesome.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, it was definitely an evolution of things. I have now gotten to the point where Um, I mean this in the best of ways, I just don't care. Like, I really just don't care. I get up on the stage and I just let it happen, and some nights, it's lesser than. I'll never say it's a bad show because being able to perform in front of people and just do the thing is so incredibly cool. So I don't know, maybe I'm being optimistic, but I never wanna consider a show to be bad. But sometimes there is that energy that just comes in from the crowd and you just go with it. And even if it's not coming from the crowd, I'm thinking of CMW specifically, the fact that no one knew me, like everyone was kind of just neutral. No one was really gonna give me anything. There's definitely this like overcompensation that I have to kind of tap into. Um, but at the same time, it just feels like, I'm performing for myself in front of the mirror, which I tend to do a lot to prep.
Badass.
But yeah. Anyways, I'd like to say it's really just I don't care. We're doing it, and this is what's gonna happen. Whatever happens, happens.
Yeah, that's the best though. And even like I'm a strong believer in like the energy you put out is the type of energy you receive. And this is like beyond music and everything. And
Yeah.
yeah, I always just get inspired, even though I do different things than you, to see like a performance like that too. It just makes me want to like kick ass in my own way and
Yes.
everything. It's like and I think that's kind of like what art is all about and everything.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's that total effortless expression, And I don't know if I'd like to think that there's a lot of it out there and that people are tapping into it, but with social media and stuff where you have to put up this front and you have to play the game and look a certain way, sound a certain way, it's hard to find that for yourself. So I just hope that, people are finding that for themselves outside of whatever it might be that they're doing on social media or whatever else that might be kind of limiting that. But yeah, it's really cool.
Yeah, and I like how you said play the game too. That's
Oh yeah.
something I've been dealing with, like trying to keep, I guess, the authenticity of and realness of whatever you're doing, but also there's all these different apps you got to post on, you got to market a certain way, and like if you and just even like I'm learning like all these different tricks of like how to get like attention too, but I also don't want to like go too clickbaity with like I want
Yeah.
like some sort of integrity, and like I don't know, do you
Yeah.
feel that way with like promoting music? Because it's just in a way I notice it's just overwhelming of different places you can throw it out to.
Yeah, it's so insane. I think you said it completely right. There's this
Yeah.
weird kind of happy medium that you want to find where you're not badgering people and you're not doing you're not following the post 6 stories a day and only use 3 hashtags now
Mhm.
and post every single day on your grid on Instagram, but do twice or 3 times a day on TikTok. Like it's so much. And I don't know, I'd like to think that by being somewhat authentic to the way I'd like to market my music, that I'm going to tap into people who actually are there for the music and can appreciate someone who isn't, just another TikTok kid or just another pretty person on Instagram. Like I just have no time for that stuff.
Yeah, hell
I
yeah.
really don't.
Yeah. Even when I like seen you play and even hear like your tracks on like Spotify and everything too, it's like it makes me think it's like, yo, this should be on like vinyl, like
Yeah,
just because it's got that spirit, and everything. Not
thank
TikTok,
you.
like,
No, exactly. This is yeah, I don't know. I'm just hoping to, like I said, tap into those people who are the, rock music appreciators, fans, who truly just want to come out and rock and not just listen to 7 seconds of my song at a time and expect that I look a certain way in all my videos. Like I'm not gonna go up on stage in a bunch of makeup and try not to get sweaty,
yeah, facts,
If I look
facts.
like a hot mess, that's what it's gonna be.
Yeah, no, and that's dope. And actually too, like just come to think of it too. So I had your music playing on my Spotify, and I noticed you got just a few tracks on there. And when it runs out, it plays like kind of like artists or like something it would the algorithm would think I would like. And
Right.
what came up was actually kind of awesome and like related to like what you were talking about. Came up like when your songs were done, Alana Miles' Black Velvet popped up.
Oh, shut
And I
up.
was
That's
like, oh, that's
awesome.
like such a cool like transition too, because especially like that's like such a song in the past, but I also feel like a similar spirit in vein, and I don't really understand how the Spotify algorithm works, but like that's a good on you, like, and maybe somebody would be
Thanks.
listening to her and run out of her music, and then you get popped up or like on a same playlist or something like that. But
I can only hope. I can
yeah,
only hope. That's
yeah.
awesome though. Thanks for sharing that. That's really cool.
Yeah, no problem. And yeah, the other week you released a new single as well, Head to the
Yeah.
Sky. Really
Yes.
cool. Um
Thanks.
Again, I keep like using the word like throwback and stuff. It really like made me feel like I was listening to something from like the 90s, like kind of like a little gritty, dirty,
Sweet.
just it had like a soaring voice, but kind of like this backing darkness to it, which I like and miss. Is kind of reminded me
Cool.
of like maybe like a Nine Inch Nails or Filter or something like that. And yeah, just kind of like let us like I can keep talking about the song, but you let us know about the single and
No, you're
like
making it sound so good. Don't stop. Um, yeah, I actually that was one of the Nine Inch Nails and Filter were two of the kind of inspirations that I wanted to work off of for the production of this song.
Cool.
I worked on this song, oh my gosh, it was my first attempt at doing all of the writing myself, so music and lyrics, and that's not how it ended. Because in that first attempt, I realized, you know, I'm not proficient enough on guitar to really make this rip, but I know exactly what I want to hear on this. And so
Mm,
I got a good friend of mine, Nick Corcoran, to jump on, and he just helped shape it into what it is now. My dad also came in on it too. Like my dad and I do all of my production together. He's just so much more well versed in like the logic stuff than I am. So I get to just focus on the songwriting and be like, "Oh, dad, I want to hear this, blah, 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 blah." And so, yeah, Head to the Sky was really just kind of just this massive compilation of all of us working together and trying to find that like gritty sound. I mean, I don't know if anyone listening has heard any of the other or will have heard any of the other stuff on Spotify, but in this one I wanted to bring in a different kind of grit, like something that I hadn't really tapped into in the other tracks,
mm,
but make it still sound quote unquote Delyn Grey. So yeah, it was cool. And from a songwriting standpoint, like it's a song about coming out of COVID and feeling like, you know, all of these other artists and musicians and whoever else are like picking right back from where they left off. And I feel like I have no footing to
mhm,
kind of jump off of. And I'm starting from ground zero. And what the hell happened, man? I mean, the lyric is the world kept turning and left me behind. And that's
mm.
exactly what it felt like. So yeah.
Ah, cool, cool. Do you feel like kind of this grittiness is just like your evolution and like something you're gonna keep going forward with?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think so, and I know so because I have more songs that are coming out. Like they're they're just chilling on the back burner right now. Um, but yeah, I think you can definitely expect more of that grittiness. You can expect some more bluesy stuff happening. Yeah, I don't really want to limit it to anything. Like if there's a song that comes out that's like perfect for acoustic stripped down Amy Winehouse vibes, I'm gonna go with that. But I always need my like harder core. I wanna feel like I'm part of the rock crew, like
Yeah.
the boy group. I wanna feel like I'm part of that songs too, so yeah.
Yeah, no, it's cool. And yeah, it feels like there's like a bit of like a nice contrast with that grit we're talking about. And then plus your voice is just so soaring and clean as well. It kind of
Thank
reminds
you.
me like of I was like a teenager, early 2000s, and there was like a big boom with metalcore where it was just super heavy, but then they'd have these guys who could just like actually have pipes. Like so, and I remember like metal was always like compartmentalized in my brain as like screaming music,
Mhm.
and then it just a simple thing of like taking something like darker and having like something beautiful over it like just was so stimulating at the time. And like I became obsessed with it too. And I feel like even though like your stuff isn't like super scary heavy, it's still got
Yeah.
that, it's still kind of like in that vein though, you know, where it's like there's this nice like contrast of everything, and it just, I don't know, it makes it something interesting.
Thank you. That's a huge compliment. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem, no problem. And how do you feel like when you make a song and you're about to perform it for the very first time? Do you get nervous or excited or
Both. I think going back to that, general feeling on stage, like, I don't care.
Yeah,
This
yeah.
is the song I'm playing, take it or leave it. For the most part though, it is excitement. I mean, kind of sitting on these songs and not being able to play them live before, I mean, I say not being able to play them live before release, but I always do. So I don't know, it's kind of a weird thing. Definitely excited to see what the general reaction is from the crowd. And a little nervous because, you know, a big part of this gig is rejection and people telling you they hate you.
Oh damn,
And
yeah.
what you do. So, you know,
Those
there's always a
internet
little
trolls
fear.
and shit. Yeah.
Yeah, like thanks a lot, user, whatever. No, generally though, I'm just super pumped and yeah, it's great to take it out of the studio. Like I want it to live in the live setting, so it's cool.
Yeah, yeah. And it feels like, I don't know, back in the day I used to dabble in like some stand-up comedy too, and sometimes like I'd like come up with like a 5 minutes that works like so well, and I'd be doing it over and over, and then I think of like something new to put in it, and I remember just getting so much like anxiety of just switching it up. Something I'm like, oh shit, like is this even gonna work? And sometimes it would, and sometimes it would just bomb. And it's just, like, so I always like wondered like, and like to talk to music people like about that too, because it is kind of like in the same vein of just vulnerability, I guess is the word I'm trying to
Yeah.
think of, and everything.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a perfect way of putting it is yeah, you're definitely vulnerable up there.
Yeah, just throwing it out. I don't know what's gonna happen. And
Yeah, like let's
especially
see.
like it seems like you're like evolving in different styles and trying new things too. So that's gotta be, I wouldn't say like my brain thought of the word freaky, but not really like interesting, you know? Like
Yeah, yeah. Actually, I think the funniest thing that's happened so far in relation to this kind of anticipation of getting new music out there live, was actually the first time, like the very first show I played as Delyn Grey. And it was in 2018, I think, and we had a bunch of our friends and family come out. Like people came in from like Ottawa and Montreal, and it was really, really cool. And I think everyone was kind of expecting this little indie pop girl to
yeah,
happen. No one
Miley
actually knew.
Cyrus. Like, yeah.
Literally, no one knew that there had been any kind of musical evolution. So everyone's waiting there
Oh
for like,
damn.
ah. And holy Lord, I came out with such an intense energy. Like, there's definitely been an evolution to kind of bring that down a little bit because it was overwhelming. And our friends and family were sitting there kind of like, what the fuck is going on? And there was definitely mixed reviews after that. Some of our friends never came back to a show. They were like, you know,
Mm,
good on you, you're doing the thing. Never coming back, not my thing.
yeah,
And then
yeah.
other people were super stoked about it. So yeah, I think after that I was like, you know what? It'll be up to them to take it or leave it. I'm just excited to be here.
Yeah. What was that? Oh, I just tapped into the devil. You know, it's like
It's just like an exorcism happening on stage. It's cool. Don't
oh, I
worry.
dig it. I wish I saw that performance. Even though you like, I feel like you still like just go balls to the wall and just smash it. Like there's an energy and presence, and you can tell like you're really into it, which is
Thanks.
always something I appreciate too. Like sometimes you see people who've done this for so long and they're like have these gigs like where they just phone it in. And I
Yeah.
think there's some importance to, it doesn't matter how big a room is, like whether it's full, like whether you're doing like an arena or even in front of like three people, because you never know like really who those three people are too. And sometimes those moments can like change everything by just like knocking it out of the park, you know?
Totally. Yeah, totally. Exactly what you just said. You never know what's going to come out of those gigs, so you might as well give it everything. And the thing is too, like you never know when your last gig is going to be, not to be
Mm,
like
yeah.
a downer, but yeah, if you know, even just if another pandemic hits and that's it for another 3 years, like I want my last time on stage to be something that I can hold on to for those 3 years to keep me going, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, yeah, it's cool.
Yeah, not to be like a downer too, but like I think about that stuff a lot too, and even like I've had like different people in different communities, like where people just passed away very young too, and I feel
Yeah.
like just like now more than ever, like I'm thinking like each day isn't guaranteed. And I'm sure people don't want to hear me talking about like
Yeah, it's
dying
true.
right now, like listening to this podcast. But I feel like that's such like like just putting that perspective out there makes me
Mhm.
work harder or just be a better person and everything. Like,
Yeah, yeah, totally. You hold on to things that are so much more meaningful, and I think there's a certain fearlessness or courage that comes with that, acceptance as well. I can say personally, you know, from a networking standpoint within the music industry, like, I don't care who you are, what you do, what you've done, I'm gonna reach out to you if I think that something can happen, like, if you can be of value to the things that are happening here with me. I don't care if you're the CEO of the biggest label and whatever, I'm gonna shoot my shot because the worst that's gonna
mhm.
happen is either you don't answer me or I get a no. And that's not gonna end my life. So like throw it all out there to anyone who's listening. And even, yeah, if I don't know if you feel the same way, but I just there's a certain kind of a switch was flipped during COVID where I was like, you know what, I don't care. I literally do not care. I'm gonna make this happen however I can. And if that means making a fool of myself or coming off as naive or whatever that is, like, so be it.
Yeah, no regrets, just putting it all out there. And
Yeah.
again, I find like just putting that kind of energy out just comes back to you. And it might not be right away. I find like
Mhm.
a lot of people who are maybe, whether they're new to music or comedy, filmmaking or whatever, they'll
Yeah.
make like their first thing and they'll like expect something to happen right away. And I don't know, it weeds out people, but also like some people get discouraged or just like think or devalue themselves, but it's just such a grind and you just got to keep going, it's like a long-term game like that.
Totally. It's a total Wizard of Oz situation. I mean, I was definitely there when I first started writing. The first couple songs that I came up with, it's like, "You're gonna be famous tomorrow. Are you kidding me?
Yeah,
Like,
you
the
hear
world
the
is not
shit.
ready for this."
Yeah.
And then you release them and you get 200 streams and you're like, "That was it?
Yeah.
Okay, I guess I gotta
where's
go back
where's
to the
my
drawing
label
board."
contract, all that, my
Literally.
my private
Um,
jet.
"Hello, don't you know who I think I am?"
Yeah,
So
yeah.
but no, totally over that. That's not that's not where I'm at now. But teenage me? Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I thought I was a shit for sure.
Yeah. And I feel like sometimes like people who are new to the, I guess, the game of this, expect people to go out of their way to find you when really like there's just so much content being blasted out right now. It's you gotta put in that extra hustle, even though it is exhausting, recording, playing shows, booking tours, whatever. You do need to put that little extra energy in, even though it's probably like killing you in a way, just like exhaustion and everything. But yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, I think there's definitely a saving grace in that. You know, you end up wherever you end up down the line and you're just so much more well-rounded and you have such a better understanding of the industry that you're working in. And there may be a point where you get to and you're like, "Oh, this is not the industry for me." Like, this is what it is? No, thanks. Not having it. Bye. Or this is what it is. I can change it in this way. I can run with it in this way. Like, I think there's so much opportunity that comes with having to be your CEO of your company. Like,
Mhm.
realistically, everyone who's an artist is their own CEO. Like, we all have a business to run. It's no longer just pumping out art and letting people kind of do the thing with it and help us get to places. We have to get to the place for people to start listening. So,
Yeah, definitely well said. And also, like, I feel like if you keep at it, like maybe people aren't paying attention right away, but if you keep like chipping away at whatever you're doing, you're going to continue to get better. And even if people don't want to pay attention, you'll get to a point where you're just undeniable, like, and like
totally.
just turn some heads. And I think that's like such a beautiful thing and something I only learned with time and age. And because
Mhm.
especially, I should say this recently, lots of people been in my inbox like talking about like starting a podcast and stuff
Right.
like that, and they're expecting like things to happen like right away. And I'm like, oh my god, like it doesn't I have to say over and over again, it doesn't work like that. And even like beyond this, I was like doing media for like 10 years and I'm still like a tiny little like platform, but things, if you keep at it, things of like beautiful things will happen. And again, you just become undeniable where you're not I don't know, just seen, I guess, in a way.
Yeah, people are actually listening to you for more than the 7 seconds that apparently our attention span is nowadays. So
Yeah, yeah. And even like it's cool to like see you on stage too, because obviously you've worked at your craft. And
Mhm.
my first impression, it turned my head, and it's like I find like maybe if something doesn't happen right away, if you keep at it, when you get those moments too, you're gonna be also prepared for it because like your sword is sharp and everything.
Yeah, totally, totally. I think of how I felt when I was a teenager, that kind of just I'm on top of the world and you're crazy if you don't think that this is the next hottest thing. And I think of where I'm at now, and every time I get off stage, it's like, wow, that was incredible, but I have so far to go. Like, this is not even the show I want it to be in 5 years. Like, I know exactly where I want to be in 5 years in terms of, visuals and being able to shred on guitar and maybe play drums on on a song or something. Like, there's so much that I want to do. There's so much that I have to learn and want to learn. And I think that's the key, is like you just have to be open to learning and want to like embrace your art even more and tap into pieces of it that you don't know yet. Um, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. No, that's really powerful to think ahead that way, and even like to break it down like the journey too. It's like, oh, maybe I'll learn a little bit more of this on guitar and like even make moves here and there. And just like it's crazy how like you can keep doing these baby steps and then just look back in like a year or 2 years and be like, holy shit, right now I'm doing something I dreamed about like a couple years ago or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so insane. It is so insane.
Yeah. Are you big on like putting like out like a big goal, like a dream board type of girl or anything
Oh,
like that?
absolutely. All I want is to play Wembley Stadium. That's it.
Sick.
Ever
Yeah,
since
let's
I was
go.
like a kid, I popped out and was like, Wembley Stadium.
I can see
So,
that. Yeah.
we'll see. But that's, yeah, absolutely. Dream big, dream the biggest you can, because you're never going to get anywhere near it if you kind of aim to be whatever realistic means to you.
Yeah, facts. And yeah, that's cool too. I'm imagining you there right now too. And you know what? Some pyro would like compliment your music as well. So let's fucking go. Let's put that out there.
Yeah, no, I'm so down. So down. Putting that out there too.
Yeah. And obviously we're talking a lot about your music because that's
Mhm.
what I know you for.
Yeah.
But what do you do to like decompress outside of this? Like, do you have any other hobbies, or are you just so music obsessive that you're just always doing something like this? Or like what's going on with you?
Yeah, great question. I actually work full time for a tech not for profit in kind of the business team, so very
Cool,
marketing
cool.
heavy and
Yeah.
all that jazz. So that's my 9 to 5. And then I also am in school part-time. So I'm studying legal studies
Wow.
and business at the University of Waterloo. So between those two things and music, there's not a lot of downtime. It's even just like if I'm sitting watching Netflix or whatever, my brain is constantly going, "Oh crap, I forgot an assignment," or "Oh my god, I didn't post on whatever today," or "I didn't join that meeting. Oh my god."
Yeah.
I'm so done. But in terms of decompressing, my boyfriend recently got me into jiu-jitsu.
Cool.
So, that's been really, really fun. It's been 2 or 3 months now that I've been doing it. And it's just there's something to martial arts. Like I used to do karate a little bit as a kid, but it really didn't stick. But there's definitely a discipline that you tap into, and it's definitely meditative as well. Like you really can't be thinking about music school, work, anything else while you're on the mat while someone is like ripping your head
Yeah,
off,
you're gonna
right?
get choked out.
So there's that. Maybe not super chill and like decompressing, but that's how I do it. And otherwise it's horse riding for me. I've been horse riding since I was 8. So yeah, very lucky to do that still.
You're a badass. Like you're learning how to fight. You're like riding horses.
Dude, I'm prepping for the apocalypse. Like
Yeah.
that's pretty much it.
Yeah, you're gonna need to protect me. Over the pandemic, I just turned into like this video editor slob because but oh man, that's so awesome though. And even
Thanks.
yeah, I'm always like super fascinated with like martial arts and all that. Just something I've dabbled in here and there, where it's like my friends have been into like jujitsu and stuff, just going to like
Awesome.
classes and stuff, and
Yeah.
it's great. It's like such like a mental chess game, especially like jujitsu too, and like learning like the intricacies of everything. And I
Yeah.
remember I used to watch a lot of UFC, and when I
Oh
was
yeah.
younger and immature, like I always wanted to see them like standing and fighting. And then
Yeah.
after like I swear one jujitsu lesson, all of a sudden I got like right into like the ground game where the like the crowd's booing. They're not even doing it. They're like hugging. I'm like, no, they're not. Like, look at his, he's trying to swing his hip this way and like catch him.
You don't even understand.
Yeah, this is
Yeah, no,
amazing.
striking matches now are just like boring. It's so funny. Well, I watch UFC religiously with my friends now. Everyone's on it. And yeah, it's exactly that. If anyone stays on their feet for too long, it's like, why are we here, guys? Literally, why are you even getting paid? Take it to the ground or nothing.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that's so cool. And even like wow, like just to hear like all the things you do outside of doing music too, sounds a bit exhausting in a way with school. And like how, how do you like find the balance there?
I'm really lucky in that over the past couple of years, there have been so many synergies between what I'm doing in work, school, and music that it all is kind of just working itself into this big learning opportunity. So I mean, from a school standpoint, I'm studying law, a lot of business law, learning to read contracts and come up with my own contracts and understanding what my musical rights are and, legal jargon, that kind of stuff. And the same thing from an employment standpoint, like what does my employment contract actually say? What am
Mhm.
I actually signing up for here? I mean, there's a business component to my degree too, which has been huge for musical business development and business development and work. So everything's fitting quite nicely. And yeah, if it's ever feeling like a slog, I just kind of remind myself like we're moving to something bigger here. Like this is going to help you in the future with music, work, or school. So don't even worry about it. You're moving. That's all that matters.
Yeah, that's so important too. It's so cool to hear that you're like going in a business direction with your schooling as well, because
Mhm.
I know a lot of artists, they're just so creative minded too, and like
Yeah.
and it's when it comes to like the business things, it can get confusing or frustrating. And yeah, that's just awesome. It's you're going to be
Thanks.
able to take care of yourself, or even like look
Mhm.
in, like you mentioned, like into contracts and stuff as you move along in your career. And that's so important.
Yeah, absolutely. It goes back to being your own boss and kind of shaping that into the strongest possible version of it you can, right? Like I want to understand as much as I can of everything and let the experts do the thing, but have an understanding of what I should be looking for.
Yeah.
Without being too broad.
Yeah, even I find too, like as you're like growing different skills too, sometimes that can lead to different amazing chapters in your life, like later on, like especially
Yeah.
like you have the experience of being on stage as an artist, knowing that type of life, and then on the other hand having this business stuff, like even down the road you can be certain type of management roles and stay in the industry
Yeah.
and always be working, because you just have all of these different skill sets for different moments and situations. And I think that's really cool and important, and something a lot of people don't think about when they're on their journey. Like maybe they'll just all go into like one thing, or just the
Yeah.
craft, and not and always think, oh, somebody else will take care of this other stuff for me. But yeah,
Yeah.
kudos to for you to do that.
Thanks, thanks. Yeah, it's just not the reality anymore, right? Like we can't just do art. We are
Yeah.
expected to be our marketing team, our PR team, our managers, our agents. Like you have to be multifaceted. And I think the smarter you can get with that, the better for you.
Facts, facts. And yeah, even like you mentioned, it seems like you kind of have this studio situation with your father and people. Like, is this like in
Yeah.
your home? Like, I need to know this as
Yeah,
well.
yeah, yeah. It's right here. So we actually have a garage. I live in a basement apartment off my parents' house. So very close to my parents. And yeah, we have this garage in the backyard and my dad literally turned it into a studio himself, which is so cool. And so we use this place for rehearsals, for recording, for chilling, pretty much everything. It's great. But yeah, everything's close to home. I'm very spoiled. I don't want to ever go to other studios because
Mhm.
why? Got it all here. It's
Yeah.
perfect.
Even like it's cool that you're so comfortable with like your own setup as well too, because I know so many different bands as well where they'll spend so much time writing and maybe they'll be on like a crazy budget. So when they go into the
Yeah.
studio, it's almost like this stress panic of like, we have this many hours to do this much. And
Yeah.
I feel like that's not like the best way to write or make a song. You got to let things breathe, listen to it back, but it's
Mhm.
not like their fault. It's just the way things are and expense wise and everything. So that's so I don't know, just cool and special that you have that environment.
Yeah, it's really awesome. It's such a blessing, and honestly being able to learn from my dad too. I mean, he was a musician back in the day, and this is his thing, right? Like he loves producing and loves all the things on the computer that I'm really bad at. So instead of having to hire someone to come in, like you were saying, like budget that out, I just have my dad here to walk me through everything and help me make things sound great. And it's just really cool. I mean, it's just overall cool to have that relationship with my dad. Like we both get to do the thing we love together. So it's awesome. And he plays drums for me too. So
Oh yeah.
the like live too. Yeah. Anyways, my dad's the coolest.
Yeah, that is amazing. That's such like just a beautiful thing you got going on there. And even like yeah, you mentioned he was like in a band too, like, or like was he a
Yeah.
solo artist or a band? Like
Both. He
both
was
of
in
them?
bands growing up until like mid-20s and then broke off and did his own thing. And yeah, and then just kind of settled down to produce my stuff. And my sister is also big into music too. So whenever she's in town, he does some stuff with her, which is cool.
Yeah. Do you feel like him coming from like an older generation helps your style as well?
Yes. Oh my God, yes. Actually, the last song we just wrapped, we were both sitting in the studio and I was like, I don't know what I want this to sound like, but I know exactly what I want it to sound like. I can't think of a reference. And he pulled up a Sex Pistols reference and he pulled up like U2. U2 is kind of our go-to.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was really cool. And I can't remember there were a couple other bands that he brought up. I was like, wow, I wouldn't have even thought of this song to be a reference for this part that we're working on. So he definitely brings a really cool um influence to the mixes that we're putting together. So yeah, he's awesome.
Yeah, that's really cool. And even like kind of I don't know, in my eyes, I think that kind of makes it a little more authentic too, because he's coming from
Yeah.
like these different eras of like the Sex Pistols, for example, and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And just to have that, I don't know, I guess energy into your music too, and with also you being passionate about that direction and everything, is it's a cool thing.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so cool. My dad's like a rock junkie at heart. He started off in rock bands, so this is like his dream come true.
Yeah. And I noticed like right now you release like just a bunch of singles. Are you going to keep
Mhm.
going the route of just releasing singles, or are you thinking of like maybe putting together an album or an EP or
Yeah, so I have so many songs right now and it's ridiculous because the way that I don't know, everyone kind of wants you to go is to just keep releasing singles until you die. Um and I really want to put out an EP to start. I have enough for an album, so I just need to figure out what that looks like from a marketing like packaging standpoint.
Mhm.
But yeah, I just want to get everything out there cuz kind of back to that doom, like you never know when the last day is going to be and I don't want to die and have none of my songs out. Like at least have them be out in the ether for someone
Yeah.
to eventually find if they ever do. So yeah, TBD on that, but definitely working toward bigger release packages, if you will.
Cool, cool. I'm
Yeah.
trying to like think of who said this, but somebody recently who was like very famous, they were just like just talking about like, I don't think we should make albums anymore. This is bugging me. Like I can't think of the band because it was like a bigger band, and they were just like, yeah, just like the way the world is, like it's EPs. But I actually love like on a release day of like if it's
Mhm.
something I enjoy, just having a lot of content at once that you can just hit play and it's fresh and it's new and it kind of like all fits like
Yeah.
a certain vibe. And Yeah, that's got to be another thing that's I guess whether it's like a challenge or just something you got to be conscious about when putting together a bigger project. Like, do these
Yeah.
songs fit together in ordering it? And like with
Yeah.
this thing coming up, are you in that mindset as well?
Totally. Totally. I'm not big on like concept albums and that kind of thing. Like I kind of just I'll take whatever I have and try to find a way to put it all together and make some edits accordingly. So like, drop a song, add a song if it really doesn't work. Um but yeah, I don't know what it would end up looking like for me. All I know is that sonically I'd want it to fit. Like I wouldn't want there to be like a jazz track on just after a heavy rock thing. Like I
Yeah.
think that's a bit much. But yeah, also kind of going back to the way you were talking about just like consuming the music, if you will. I'm not really understanding how people are so down to binge like Netflix shows and like just series on series, and then we can't binge 3 minutes at a time of really freaking good music, right? Like it's an interesting discrepancy in our attention, just between visuals and I guess like sonic consumption. So I don't know, we'll see. I wish
That's
we could just like pump out albums because it's like mini series.
Yeah, that's such a good point. Like, what is that? Like, I never thought of that. Like, people are like down, like you mentioned, like something new comes out on Netflix, they'll spend their next 2 days just hyper focused on it. And
Yeah.
then some people like will release a record and it's just like,
Eh.
yeah, I don't know if it's the apps we have now or because I remember before I'm a bit older than you. I'm like in my 30s, but I came from like a generation where I'd buy a CD because
Yeah.
I like one song on the radio and then it
Yeah.
becomes a mystery. And then I would go home and as I'm like just listening to it with like headphones on, I'm opening like a physical book in like
Yeah.
looking at lyrics and like even like, oh, who wrote this? And I remember a big thing for me
Yeah.
was a Metallica, and it's always James
Oh,
Lars, James Lars, and then all of a sudden it's just Jason. It's like, oh, what did he do on that? It's like one song out of the 10. It's like, and like, I feel like people don't have that experience anymore because they're like, when you play a song like on your phone or something, it's not having all those credentials and all that,
yeah.
it's more just people are treating music, I guess, like in a way where it's getting devalued and
Yeah.
being treated as like background
Yeah.
noise or I don't
Yeah.
know.
No,
I don't know. I'm
totally.
trying to like put it together right now,
Totally.
but I don't know like why it's kind of like lost that I don't know, spirit and value.
Yeah, I think there definitely is something to that tangible component that we're missing, right? Like it's just it's just so easy to swipe to the next thing. I don't like the first 7 seconds of the song. Bye, done. Like oh, moving on to the song that I'm listening to the most right now. I think
Mhm.
I recently saw a bit of Miley Cyrus's new album. She did like a Disney like mini movie thing for it. It was like a bunch of live performances of her new album.
Cool.
And I thought that was really cool. There was a lot of feedback from fans, like people posting TikToks and whatever of them watching it and crying and just having it be this big experience. And I think that's exactly what's missing is this visual, tangible component, bringing us back to like having to sit with it and wanting to listen to the lyrics and wanting to know more about the story and the story behind whoever's writing the songs and stuff. Like yeah, I don't know how to do that for an independent artist though, because no one cares. If I were to do that on like YouTube or something, who's actually going to watch 45 minutes of me performing my songs live? Like no one.
Yeah. Well, I think if like people like saw you live in person,
Hmm.
they would be the ones to like I don't know, like if they heard about that, like for me, example, I'd be like, fuck yeah, let's throw this on because they know what
Yeah.
you bring. But again,
Hmm.
there's just so much out in that ether right now. And it's like, how do you get people's attentions? And again, like maybe we can blame a TikTok or something.
Yeah,
And
honestly.
even, oh my God, I started using that app like recently. Like I know it's been
Hmm.
out forever, but I'm just like, well, I make clips of the show. Let's start throwing it on there.
Yeah.
And I had like a big episode the other week with David Suzuki on it, and I
Yes.
took a little piece, like a very like conscious and like kind of soulful moment he had,
Hmm.
and I put it on TikTok. And usually like the stuff I've been putting on TikTok gets between like maybe 200 views to maybe 1,000. And
Yeah.
this one went to like 12,000, like right away. I'm like, oh, sick. This is awesome. Then just yesterday, I get like a notice that it's been like been flagged for like integrity and authenticity. And then I'm like, that's what the words it said, like why it was like flagged. And then I'm just scrolling and it's just like all these like booty shaking hoes and stuff. I'm like, what the fuck is this? Like, like I hate this place. Like I got so like internally mad. And then I appealed it too, and they said, and one they give you like a bunch of like just like robotic options of like why, and it's like just one of them was just this. I don't think this is like content that breaks your standards, and then I hit that, and then a day later, and it's like yes, it is, and then it's gone.
Okay, so nothing matters. Like I can't do anything. You're not gonna
Yeah,
send me to a human. It's
yeah,
all AI nowadays. God damn.
yeah, it's just such a weird thing. And but you again, it's like that's the way people are consuming things. And I was hoping to send out little snippets here and there,
Mhm.
and maybe like even if like 10,000 people watch the TikTok, if like two or three people actually click on the actual episode, that's worth it for me, like. But
Yeah.
sometimes I just don't know what to do anymore, it's so much.
Honestly. And then everyone's telling you that they have an answer. When no one knows what they're doing. Like no one
No,
has any
no.
idea. There's no way to predict what's gonna be like the next algorithm tomorrow or whatever. It's just
Yeah.
do what you love. Put stuff out that you love. And
Yeah,
that's all you
yeah.
can do.
It goes back to just like fuck it, like this is what I do and just throw it out there. And it's
Yeah.
even like so hard without I notice without an industry backing you as well. I
Yeah.
find so many people get pushes because they're just in the right place at the right time, especially in the music industry. um it's absolute crazy, almost to go full circle with our convo, what I said at the beginning
Mhm.
of people looking for music that's maybe like your style, but they
Yeah.
don't hear it. And it's not because it's not out there, and it's not because you're not good. It's just because somebody hasn't made you the chosen one, like the
Yeah.
puppet master or
Yeah.
whatever. And
Yeah.
I feel like sometimes when I get into this, people are like think it's like conspiracy talk, but it's like no, that's actually how it works.
No, literally everything's rigged. Like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Some of these kids blowing up on TikTok or even on Instagram, whatever, social media kids, like they have industries behind them or have had for several years, or they have connections that you could only dream of having. Sometimes it's sheer luck. And that is super cool and like good on you. But there's a lot of money, there's a lot of networking, schmoozing that goes on behind the scenes. And so, again, like play the game to whatever degree you're comfortable with. Like,
Hmm.
I'm never going to play the game to the point where, I'm posting videos of my boobs and I'm like super made up and I'm just holding a guitar. Like that's not the kind of musician I want to be.
Yeah.
But I'll play. Like I'll play. I'll do some schmoozing on the side. I'll
Hmm.
see who can maybe be of value to me down the road, see if I can make a connection. I'll post some stuff that looks better than me in like a hole.
Yeah. Yeah, but I respect that too because you're keeping your integrity. And I find there's power to that too.
Mhm.
I find when people play like, I guess, the sleazy game, maybe for a quick second, they'll
Yeah.
get like a boost of quote unquote like fans or whatever, but they're
Mhm.
not lifers. Like they're just there for the quick moment. But I feel like I'm learning the older I get, and even with my podcast journey, it's been like a
Mhm.
very slow burn. And even like I worked for like a YouTube place, and I knew like these strategies of like that just kind of like broke the integrity of the show, but could get
Mhm.
it like a push. But I noticed
Yeah.
like these slow burn, like gathering of people to whatever platform this is. It's like people who are very passionate in attention, where you can do like the cheap trick and blast it out everywhere, but it's like I don't know, it's like a 15 minutes of fame type of thing. And like
Yeah.
people aren't really connected to it because lots of these tactics don't have soul behind it, you know? It's just like
Yeah,
being a certain fakeness or putting on a mask. And yeah, and
totally.
at the end of the day, it's like you're not going to be happy with what you're doing, you know?
No, exactly. And even if it gets you past that 15 minutes of fame, you can never take back the fact that that's how you made it happen. Like,
Yeah.
the people who stick with you for the first little bit aren't going to care about what your authentic whatever is. They just are going to want what made you famous. So if what made you famous was looking a certain way, you're going to have to look that certain way to keep things going. Like, you can't just turn it off and be like, haha, I was joking. Like, I just use this as a tactic and now I'm actually showing you my true self. Like, no one's going to hold on to that. So you're stuck in it. You're
Yeah.
stuck.
And cut years later, you're just crying in the mirror. Like, who am I?
Literally, I don't know who I am anymore. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it's all
No.
crazy.
But kudos to you. Like I feel like it's cool to just hear like the different layers of your journey and how you make your music and all that, because it's not easy being an independent artist, especially like we mentioned, without having like the industry backing. It's fucking expensive. A lot of people don't know. And like even doing shows or booking tours too at without like that backing too, it's like gambling in a way.
Oh, it
You
is.
it's, you know, you got a good product, but you don't know like if I'm going to get back from putting all this out. And it's just, I feel like after
Yeah,
time you do get rewarded, but it's never right away. And it's just like kudos to the ones who
yeah,
stick it out and just do it because that's what they do, you know? And
yeah, yeah. It's the long game. We all got to play the long game. And if you don't want to, that's cool, because like no one's blaming you. If you're
yeah.
like, you know what, this has been so much, I don't know who I am anymore, I don't know why I'm doing it anymore, then that's cool. You gotta take a step back. But yeah, I don't know, just gonna keep doing the thing and see where it gets me. And I think the biggest thing that I've learned recently is not being flustered by names or status or whatever. Like, if Universal were to offer me a record deal tomorrow, like that would be really cool, but what are you actually doing for me? Like, what are you actually going to get done? Am I sitting on a shelf for the next
Yeah,
15 years of my
because
life?
that happens too.
Yeah, it happens to so many people. Like, I know a lot of kids who started off when they were like 14, got a record deal, and they're like 25 now, still nothing has happened for them. So
Mhm.
there's yeah, there's a lot to learn and there's a lot to be aware of within the industry. And like, you can't just be flustered by whoever or whatever. Everyone's hustling. Everyone has an ulterior motive, you know, not to
Yeah.
like make everyone sound ridiculous, because there are people who are genuine who want to help you, and that's cool, but
Yeah,
like,
facts.
know who you're working with.
Yeah, yeah, that's a good advice too. And yeah, you're kicking ass. And even like it's interesting to one thing why I invited you for an episode this week too. I was kind of thinking of my whole like podcast journey, like just like in retrospect of like why I started doing this. And
Mhm.
like just the long story short is I originally like started doing this because I just wanted to share some cool shit. And I was like
Yeah.
in the city, just going out to like different places, different art scenes, and like seeing all
So
these
cool.
different special people where maybe their story isn't being told, or
Mhm.
just like they're making good music or comedy and people don't know who they are. And even
Yeah.
though I didn't have any followers, I'm like, I'm just gonna try to make like this little thing. And there was something I was just very like conscious of. And
Mhm.
this week I was like, I just want to share some cool shit. Who's doing cool shit? And you were like literally like one of the first people to pop up on my Instagram. I'm like, yo, what up? Let's go.
That's so awesome. Well, yeah, I appreciate you letting me use your platform and for, yeah, just listening. This has been really fun.
Yeah, yeah. And yeah, you got any like shows coming up in the future? Or...
Yes, I do. I have one coming up here in Toronto, April 14th at Bar Cathedral, with another couple bands. It's gonna be really fun. The Lookout Service is headlining. They're also a very cool Toronto band. And then TBD on other shows. There are some things happening behind the scenes that have to get finalized before I know exactly what the plans are, but I'm very excited to share what's coming.
Yeah, that's exciting. And yeah, maybe we can leave off with this. If a young girl, little girl sees you on stage doing your thing, and says, I want to do that, what would be the advice that you would give her?
Do it.
Mm-hmm.
Do it, and don't let anyone get in your way. Like, there are only two options. Either you get on this train or you get the fuck out of the way. I'm leaving the station. It's up to you. So
Love
I
it.
would say everyone should, have that kind of mentality. Get on or get off. I'm going either way.
I agree. And Delyn, thank you so much for your time.
Thank
This
you.
was such a cool talk, and even looking forward to all the things in the future.
Thanks.
Whether it's like a release or a big show, we'll have you back again too. What I
Yes.
love is just like meeting new people, new artists and everything, and almost in a way like recording these little like audio documentaries of where they are in time, and like
Yeah.
down the road maybe we can put it all together and turn it into something bigger, and everything. But yeah, I really appreciate you letting me pick your brain today, because I'm a new fan and you're awesome, so keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you. Well, you're awesome. I love what you're doing, and thank you for your time. Thank you for the space on your platform. I'm looking forward to future conversations.
Thanks for checking out our episode with Delyn Grey. Like we mentioned, she's got a new track out right now titled Head to the Sky. Open up your phone, whether you got Spotify, iTunes, Napster, I don't know what else, anything. Type it in, give it a listen, and let us know what you think. And yeah, it's just always cool and a privilege that I have a space where I can just pick the brain of different artists I see out there just kicking ass and getting to share them with you guys, and maybe a few people who've never heard of them before. And I feel like Delyn is somebody very special and somebody you should have on your radar. And that being said, if you enjoyed this episode, give it a share. And before we go, I want to give an extra shout out to all you legends on the Patreon page, starting with Amanda McKnight of Top 10 Nerd, Ryan Watkins of Ryan Radio, my man Devin McBride, the wonderful Jenny Potter, the homie Mike Ulio, Ryan frickin' Campbell, my favorite soul singer Saber, and last but not least, Francis Copper, aka my mom. If you want a shout out at the end of all of these episodes, and also if you want to get these episodes extra early, raw, and uncut, right when I'm done the Zoom call, I don't even edit it, I post it secretly on the Patreon page. You can go to patreon.com/thecreativeimbalance. It's only $4 a month, and every cent helps your boy. And on top of that, you can go to bed at night, sleep well, knowing you're a badass motherfucker who supports raw, uncut, honest, independent media. And I thank you so much. We got more episodes coming your way. Some real interesting ones. I want to spoil them. Like, I'm just biting my tongue, but I like to surprise you guys as well. But once again, thank you so much for listening, and we'll catch you soon. Cheers!